Good morning, good morning, good morning. We are back for another episode of the Buckeye Roast. It's your boy Ron James here with my guy QP Ski. Q, how you doing?
I'm alive, man. Alive and survive. A little tired, but it is what it is. I'm contractually obligated to show up every morning, so I'm here. How you doing?
Yeah, good thing there's a little bit of flexibility in that contract. You can get here at 8 or you can get here at 8:23. You
Can
know,
I?
because we're cool like that around here. I'm like,
That's great benefits. Can
absolutely, absolutely. But we got plenty to talk to today. We have a new A. Hello,
Yeah, go ahead.
am I here?
Uh,
Oh no, I was gonna say we got plenty to talk about today. We have a new AP poll. We're talking things that we learned during the bye week and things that we want to learn coming out of the bye. So let's get right into it. A new AP poll out. The Buckeyes stay at 3 after the Georgia Bulldogs struggle with the Kentucky Wildcats, only winning by 1 point, 13-12. Texas jumps to number one in the poll. It's the top five is rounded out by Alabama, Ole Miss, and then the top 10. Tennessee at 6, Missouri at 7, Miami at 8, Oregon at 9, and Penn State rounding out the top 10. Just at first glance, it looks like three Big Ten teams and 7 SEC teams. Six SEC teams. I'm so
yes.
sorry. Miami, the last one in the top 10. Thoughts there on the top 10?
Yeah. Texas jumping to number one. That's a little bit of a okay. I guess they're, I guess they've proven enough with a big win to Michigan for the AP voters to go ahead and put them up there. I mean, they look solid, so we'll see as they hop into SEC play. I'm not mad at it right now. Still waiting to see Miami really play somebody. It's a team I have my eye on. Not that they don't deserve to be in the top 10 so far. I mean, they've taken care of business. So still interested to see them. Oregon, I know they just beat Oregon State. I'm still a little worried about them. Obviously playing up to that level week in, week out. So I would like to see that. But like I said yesterday's show, I feel like we're going to get a lot of answers coming here soon with different teams finally having some competitive games to play. So looking at it, I mean, I would say I would probably flop Penn State and USC. I think USC has looked well more better these first couple weeks, especially their defense is somewhat looking like a real defense. So I cannot complain there. And their offense has weapons that can score points. And in Penn State, I think that's the issue they run into later in these big games is putting up enough points. Not that they can't, maybe they can, but I would rock with USC right now, and they play Michigan this week, so we'll get a little more answers there. But that's my thoughts so far.
How much does a victory over Michigan impact the top 10 next week? Does it lower the value of Texas's win over Michigan if Michigan then becomes a two-loss team? Does USC see a similar jump that Texas saw after beating that team up north? And do you think Michigan will fall out of the top 25 if they were to drop their second game of the season already?
Mm, I mean, I guess we both feel that at this point, Texas and USC are pretty relative top 10-ish teams. So I feel like, yeah, Michigan probably would drop off, but I don't think it would diminish that win if they do. I mean, we know that Michigan defense is for real. You'd say what you want. That's a good defense right there. We just know that, and we've known this. You have a quarterback that can't play. You know how badly it affects your team and how much lower of a level those teams will play at. So I feel like that would jump USC probably into the top 10, maybe over a Penn State there. But I don't know if I think they're right around where they should be in that top 10 area. And then we will see. We'll see if they can hold it down and get a victory.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with Michigan if they were to lose. It would be quite the fall from grace if they were to go from defending national championships to unranked before week 5.
That's true. I mean, we got USC in Texas before week 5. That doesn't help. It's not
No,
exactly a
it doesn't
repetition
help, but
test.
it's like payback for the schedule that they had last year. It's like Ohio State now has the Michigan schedule of last year where they play absolutely nobody all year. I mean, I was looking through Ohio State's schedule during the bye. I was like, well, this is pretty easy. I mean, outside of Oregon on the Oregon, Penn State, and the team up north, and it's felt like a 3-game schedule. But if Michigan keeps losing, it's going to feel like a 2-game schedule because I don't know if you've seen the betting lines, but the line for the game has moved to 19 and a half for the Buckeyes. The Buckeyes are projected to win that game by 20. I feel like the narrative inside the Woody needs to change from beat that team up north to no, beating them's not enough. I need you guys to cover as well.
Yeah, I don't. I just had to get some good odds there now the way both teams have looked. But I do have some decent odds for you coming up. But before I do that, let's quickly house clean. We're running a little bit behind. But Gmo is the first one in the chat saying go Canes, unfortunately. So I have to repeat that. But again, if you want some sheer entertainment and some comedic comedy, go over to Category 6 Sports and shout out to Gmo and the crew in there. And it's good to see everybody in this morning. I know we're running a little bit late, but I see you guys popping in, having a good time with us. Don't forget, we're on audio, podcasts, Spotify, all that good stuff. And if you're on Twitter, like retweet the video. And if you're here on YouTube, let's get those likes up. Let's try to get the 50 per usual before we end the show. So we're working on it, trying to do it. All right, Ron, that's all I got. You want some lines for the weekend? Early lines, early Ron's picks.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so this is early now. This may change by Friday when we get some experts in here. But Ron, I want to ask Tennessee and Oklahoma this weekend. We talked about this game yesterday. Tennessee opens up a 6.5 point favorite. What is your bet for Tennessee Oklahoma right now this weekend? You taking the over? You taking the under?
I'm taking Tennessee to cover. I think Nico is going to be difficult to stop. I feel like he's continuing to prove why he was paid as much as he was to go to Tennessee and why he was such a highly sought after recruit. I mean, he absolutely tore up the 7-on-7 circuit in high school, sat and waited a year, and now he's looking like the guy that everyone expected him to be. And I think he's 100% the real deal. I think that this Tennessee team is going to surprise folks. I know they're the favorite, but I know a lot of people are still like waiting to see Nico do it against a real team, and I feel like this Brett Venables defense will be his first opportunity to really show, like, hey, I'm here.
Yeah, I don't know if you're there. I mean, these first several weeks it looked like he's continued to play 7-on-7 with the amount of points they put up in the competition they've had. Is I mean, you don't do much better than being up like 65 at half. So I think this is going to be a come to earth and see if they can continue to score points in bunches. I do expect that Brett Venables defense to have something to say about that and make it with and keep it within a score that Oklahoma can try to crack to win this game. So. Right now, I would say they cover it. I would go ahead and bet my over. Man. That remember when I brought up that Michigan Texas 6.5? Man, I should have put my house on that. But I won't though. I won't make that mistake this time. I'm riding with Tennessee today, playing that 6.5, and we'll see what happens this weekend. So my second one for you, I have USC and the vaunted Michigan Wolverines this weekend. So first news of order. Alex Orgy will start this weekend. So obviously the other quarterback has not performed particularly well, but Alex Orgy was coming in to save the day. So USC opens as a 6.5 point favorite early on here. So Ron, what is your bet? Are you taking the over? You taking the under?
I I am taking uh I'm taking USC again. Like I don't think Michigan's going to be able to score enough points. You see Miller Moss sneak into the Heisman ratings into the
Mhm.
Heisman rankings this past week, and on the other side you have Michigan picking a new quarterback. So I'm going to go with the team that has the Heisman the Heisman candidate at quarterback and not the team that is putting in a running back at quarterback. I saw someone say on the timeline yesterday, if we're playing running backs at quarterback in Ann Arbor, Donovan Edwards is QB1. While I don't think Alex Orji is the most natural or talented thrower of the ball, I do think he gives the offense the biggest threat as far as his ability to use his legs. And if they're able to find a way to get some sort of power run game going with Donovan Edwards and involving Alex Orji in the run game, I feel like that gives their offense the best opportunity. Having Davis Warren go out there and give his worst impression of JJ McCarthy and throw the ball to the other team every week, not going to get it done. And I'm glad that they made, well, not as a Buckeye fan, but if you're a Michigan fan, you should be glad that they made the switch. I always thought Alex Orji was going to be the quarterback in Ann Arbor this year when Davis Warren came out of nowhere. I thought that was a little odd and suspicious, but hey, they're back to who everyone assumed it was going to be until like the last 3 weeks of camp where they're like, nope, it's going to be value time, JJ McCarthy. I think this Michigan team is flawed. I don't know how long this defense is going to be able to continue to hold up and carry this offense. But then again, USC, we're about to find out if their defense is legit, because if they come out here and let Michigan look like a competent offense, you know that it's been smoke and mirrors with the USC defense thus far this year.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'd probably go ahead and take that USC minus 6.5 and roll with that. Figuring they would win by a touchdown. Like you said, they have the quarterback here who's proven he's going to go out and put up some numbers. I do expect them to put up points against Michigan. And yeah, we will see more about that defense. I don't expect this one to give them trouble. I would figure if Michigan is or 20s. I may have a little bit of a worry because I feel like the step up in defense should be able to really hold them down, especially like after Texas came in and did what they did. So we will see this weekend. But right now, I'm with you. I'm going to take USC minus the 6.5 and roll there and give me some free money. And hopefully they do not let me down. Okay, so I got a little bit of GMO's least favorite coach, Mike Norvell, in here. I got a quote from him. I just had to ask this question. So, Mike Norvell said he's pleased with the way DJU is preparing even after the 0-3 start. He said, I quote, he's giving us a chance. Ron James, my question for you is a chance for what?
a, a chance to be the starting quarterback wherever Mike Norvell's coaching next year. Because, bro, it seems like him and Billy Napier are having a contest to see who could get fucking fired faster, bro. I've never seen such a fall from grace faster than these two guys. I mean, at the beginning of the season, you ask Q about Mike Norvell, and he might fire Ryan Day to hire him. He just saw that picture with the Braves and was like, I gotta have bro as my coach. Famously Q ranked Mike Norvell as one of his top 5 coaches in college football. But hey, DJU is progressing. I don't know what the fuck's going on in the water down in Florida, but I mean, Miami got that shit going, and Florida and Florida State are falling off a cliff. And I mean, just a year ago, it seemed like both of them were on a better trajectory than the Canes. And I mean, it looks like Miami has it turned around already. It feels like, as crazy as it sounds, Miami fans lied all off season. Said 12-0, ACC championship. Cam Ward is going to be the savior. Is Miami even better than they said? Like, even with all the lying, even with all of the hyperbole, I mean, we have Gmo, resident Miami fan, in the chat. Is this Miami team better than even Miami fans expected? As hard as that is to even believe with how much they lie.
Yeah, I mean, Florida's walking without a pulse. It's so hard to judge them with these first few games because they've done well. I say they've done exactly what you expect them to do. They've come out, they beat Florida convincingly without a pulse. And the next couple of games, I mean, Cam Ward has looked really good against limited competition, and the team has looked really dominant. So, I mean, they have looked good. You got to give them credit where it's due. I mean, my question is, they're in the ACC. Like we don't have a team where we'd be like, okay, well, this team definitely is going to give us a bar where Miami is. We don't have the Clemson. We don't have Florida State. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's Syracuse, but you can say the same thing about Syracuse. It's really like, okay, they beat Georgia Tech, but like, how really good is this team? So I feel like it's a good ball team. I feel like it's definitely a playoff team coming up this year. Again, I don't know how good this Miami team really is. And I don't know if we're going to find out. If they get a shootout with Syracuse, we could call them both good and they both not be. We could say, they're both mediocre. They could both be really good teams. So it's just so hard to judge with Miami without a team on the schedule where you're like, okay, like that's a good team and they wouldn't beat them. Maybe Louisville? Maybe.
Bro, it's
ACC.
Syracuse is gonna be our last hope. The last game of the year, Kyle McCord is going to have to end Miami fans. He's gonna have to like summon his former Ohio State Buckeye inside him and end the Miami program and do his best Jim Tressel impression.
Yeah, but I mean, I think people have really like picked like Syracuse, like, oh, Syracuse playoff because they don't really play. There's nobody that really stands in their way other than a Miami. It's kind of like, all right, who's the most competent out of not many competent people, or who's competent at all? So, I mean, I want to give them their due. I want to give them their credit. They've looked worlds better than they have seasons before early in the season. You just again, it's a waiting game, and inside the ACC, I don't know if that's going to get answered. That's my question. But as far as Mike Norvell goes, I mean, maybe DJU gives them the best chance to win, even though they haven't won yet. I made a big mistake putting him in my top 5 early in the season. I should have held off a little bit. Maybe I should have put the coach from Memphis in there. Maybe that's what I should have did. But I would say I have a bigger problem with the quote
You
than
did pick the coach from Memphis, just not the one that's there anymore.
I, I have a bigger problem with the quote than what's actually going on at Florida State. And if he came out and said, "Yo, DJ's got to play better. The offense has got to play better," and told me, "All right, I'm cool. He's giving us a chance." Like, end quote. Like, for what, coach? What exactly to go 0-6? Like, I don't know. So I had to throw it in there because I just thought that was funny. Okay, before I move on, like Gmo said, everybody like this video in here. And if you are on Twitter, go ahead and hit that like or retweet. And if you're hitting the community, if you're not in the community, let us know. We can get you in there. Definitely do that. But if you are in the community, go ahead and like, retweet, and that helps us out in there. So, Ron, I got some Heisman standings for you according to On3, some familiar names. So I'm going to run you down the power rankings. Okay, so at number 1, Cam Ward, Miami's own. Number 2, Jalen Milroe, who's been balling out with his deep ball this season. If you could ever throw that intermediate pass, look out. Jackson Dart, who's been balling out. Another team, Old Miss, who's just been running through teams so far this season. I guess we'll see how good they are coming up. Ashton Genty, who we saw perform well in a few games, especially against Oregon, and Quinn Ewers at 5. Ron, how you feeling about the top 5 so far? And I'll throw Travis Hunter in at 6 because he's right behind it and had a good game this weekend.
I think they have it about right. It's just a little disappointing. You look all the way down to 10, and there's not a Buckeye in sight. And that, with as loaded and as talented as Ohio State is, I don't know if that just speaks to the fact that like we don't have a Heisman caliber quarterback, or the fact that it is a Heisman award. I mean, I feel like if Will Howard had a third week of stats, he might sneak into that conversation. But I guess it's just odd not seeing a Buckeye in that conversation with as talented as a team. But I really don't have a good argument for any particular one of them to jump that list. It'll be interesting to see as the Buckeye season plays out if they're able to sneak into that list. But no problems for me. It's truly remarkable that Cam Ward has looked like the best player in the country so far, and I don't know how much it is due to their schedule so far. But the credit that I have to give Miami is you're seeing a team that everyone's telling you is good, is better. Go out there and look like it. They're not playing with their food. They're not going out there and struggling. You're not seeing them have a 13 to 12 game against Kentucky, or like an Oklahoma had a close game with Houston, like 16 to 12. I know Miami's not playing the greatest competition, but they are going out there and dominating from the start of the game to the end of the final whistle. And they have to be applauded for that. And the Heisman rankings reflect the way the national media is viewing Cam Ward so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I mean, you can't really deter much, and I know that Florida win is going to weigh a little more because of the brand name. I mean, I think him, Jackson Dart, and probably Quentin Ewers probably looked as good as you could possibly look playing quarterback with the competition they played early in the season. I would put Jalen Milroe a little bit behind that. He's had more of the wild plays, but I again don't think he's played as well. But with Ryan Williams running goes, he's out there somewhere. Just just throw it, and somehow he'll come down with it. So I think he's had more of the wild plays and the ESPN plays that we see, and then Genty in there being the only running back. I mean, I think Travis Hunter is a guy where I'd like to see him moved up. This has just become a little too much of a quarterback award for me. I mean, you got a guy playing both sides of the ball, and Christian Zach talked about, I believe, yesterday, where it was in the fourth quarter after playing 80 plays, he was running almost 22 miles an hour. He was moving. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
like you said, quarterback award, 8 of the top 10 are quarterbacks. So it is kind of disappointing to see that more people aren't getting consideration for this award. I mean, I feel like even with Quinshon and Travion potentially having crazy seasons this year, I don't think they're going to be able to crack the top 5 with the way these quarterbacks are playing. I think Travis Hunter, I know a lot of people were going to say, but the record, if if Colorado isn't able to continue winning, I feel like he's going to drop out of the Heisman rankings. But I mean, like you said, a guy playing both sides of the ball and then playing at that high of a caliber from whistle to whistle, I think that's someone that deserves to at least be in New York, even if he doesn't get the award. I feel like what he's done in college football for 3 years, he deserves to go to New York.
yeah, I agree with you there. I couldn't have said it better myself. So that's the current Heisman ranking. Let's talk to the standout freshman that we touch on every week. Because a couple of guys in here, we will remember the name. So this is the 8 they gave us. Caden Durham from LSU, the running back. Ryan Williams, we've talked about a bunch. Ryan Wingo, a guy that we recruited. Isaiah Wilson from Utah. Colin Simmons is a name I keep seeing on this list. From Texas. We were in on. Dylan Rayola makes his repeat appearance. Jordan Seaton from Colorado, and Kingston Villanosa, who famously chose Notre Dame over Ohio State. The Lord blessed him and sent him that way. So, guy I want to ask to start off this is, did you ever think you'd hear Jordan Seaton's name again out of Colorado?
Absolutely. Everybody made the joke when he signed, I don't want an offensive lineman in Amiris. I'm like, fucking call your school and let them know so he can end up at ours because I'll take him. Because that dude is an absolute fucking freak of nature and he runs like a tight end and he plays tackle. So everybody can make fun of his dress or his decision to go to Colorado. I clearly he's fucking playing well, being that he's on the standout freshman list through the first 8 weeks, and he's starting at left tackle for a Power Five team as a true freshman. I think that dude is going to be an absolute monster. I don't know if he finishes his career at Colorado, but whoever does end up with Jordan Seaton is going to get one hell of a player.
Yeah, he so greater really high in pass rushes or pass protection, only gave up one QB pressure. Like you said, he's playing well. I don't think he really has a choice in Colorado. They're like, look, yeah, you see those guys out there? Yeah, we need you. So get out there and play well. Like you said, I don't know if he finishes his career there, but I'm looking at our tackles and we got a couple open spots coming up next season. Come on down. We might need your help. Yeah, him and it's good to see Kingston Villanueva. Villamu Asa in there. We talked about, yeah, I don't know why I said Villanueva. That's a completely different player. Good to see him in there. I know I was a big fan of his tape coming out of high school. And unfortunately, you went to Notre Dame, but kicking the ball out, and Dylan Rayola. So a couple of guys in the Midwest continue in the freshman list. We'll keep an eye on that. Okay, want to go jump into some Ohio State news because that's the team we're here covering, but a lot going on in college football. So, Ron, I will start with this. Ohio State, they announced their Big Ten home opener against Michigan State will be again on Peacock. We talked about Peacock last season and how everybody had to go get a Peacock subscription just to watch the game. I don't know if all y'all can do free free subscriptions again. I think you've used your one within the year. Fortunately for me, I watch Premier League soccer, so I have Peacock on deck if anybody wants to pull up. But Ron,
I know you didn't just flex having the cock on deck. That's
I have
crazy.
the cock on. I gotta watch Manchester United to you, man. But yeah, I just want to know, how are you still feeling about this NBC Peacock deal? Is it warranted to get more money for the schools and stuff like that? Or are you like, this is hell of annoying?
It's like the least American thing I've ever seen in my life. Because, like, America, the home of the fucking Walmart Supercenter where you could fucking buy tires and lunch meat, but we fucking gotta have 90 TV networks to watch fucking football. Like, it's like, oh my God, what if we came up with like this crazy thing? Hear me out. Like, we have all of these like TV providers and they go out and buy packages and then they bundle them together and they put all the channels under one package. I don't know, we could call it like cable or something, right? And like we could just watch all the games. I don't know if that's like too primitive an idea. I don't know like what European model we're on where you have to have a fucking subscription for every game to watch TV, but it's ridiculous and I fucking hate it. And I don't understand this idea of growing the sport by putting it behind a paywall. It's just like the greed is just out of control.
I agree, especially when there's so many channels per sports. There's like three Fox. There's Fox Sports, Fox Sports One, Fox Sports Two, Fox Sports Eight, the Ocho. Like there's like so many already on TV that is just like, can we just watch the game? Like, what do you like? You got to go in and additionally get Peacock. Peacock was sold as a streaming network. You don't know, you watch old TV, and then they threw the Premier League on there to get more money already, which I was upset about. That's why I have Peacock. But it's just like it does get very annoying week in, week out. It's like, oh, now on pay-per-view, Ohio State versus Rutgers. And it's like, all right, come on, man. Like, you give me a break on this one? It's highly annoying. I'm not suffering, but I envy with the rest of the population. Like Doreen said in the chat, like Zach said, get the box. You'll see everything.
Yeah, man, it's disappointing, but I mean, of course, we're gonna find a way to watch it. There's plenty of ways to go out there and get the game if you don't have Peacock. So, best of luck for people trying to find it. I'm honestly sure you'll be able to find someone streaming it directly on YouTube. Shout out to the good Samaritans of YouTube out there.
You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? We have all these networks, and the Pac-12 still couldn't get a deal.
That's honestly crazy. Like, bro, they're gonna end up with like a fucking deal on Tubi, bro.
Here we go,
Pac-12 Tubi deal.
Pac-12 on Peacock. We're really roll. You saw Peacock get all the Pac-12 games. Look, I got a deal done right there. Tell them to hire me, man. I'll put my resume out there for them. Okay. All right. So this is mainly what I talked about in this, and we can have some fun with this to wrap the show. So we finally talked about Ohio State coming in out after the first 2 weeks. Not many questions at all about Ohio State, but I just want to ask, what are 3 things that we would like to learn about Ohio State coming up this week, or college football in general? So I will throw this out there. So have fun with this one. What are a couple of things you want to learn? Throw those in the chat. We got some good ones. We'll try to get to those before we wrap up. Ron, you want me to start? Or you want to start?
You can start it.
Okay, I will start my least one. I want to learn, when is this punt return or kick return coming? Look, I was promised at the beginning of the year, and we had the right guys back there. Jaden Ballard running 38 miles per hour, according to Mick. Brandon Ennis, the shifty receiver out of South Florida, promised and said you will get a punt return this season. I know what you're going to say. The Buckeyes have only played 2 games. Well,
I know. Would you want them to do? Get a punt return during the bye week? Like how are they going to do that?
I mean, Akron's a good choice. I mean, it only gets harder from here. If you're not returning against them, I don't expect it against USC. But I guess we'll see. That's my first question. I just want to know, when is this punt return or kick return coming? I have been waiting for it. The crowd has been waiting for it. The fans, college football. I just need to know when it's back. So that was the first thing I want to learn after the bye week. Ron, I will throw it over to you.
I mean, I guess we'll stick on the Brandon Inniss train. I want to know how this wide receiver rotation continues to work itself out. It seems like it's kind of been the Jeremiah show through 2 weeks. I'm interested to see if we can get Carnell more involved in a balanced way. You saw Emeka get going last week. Brandon is still working his way in the offensive rotation. So I'd like to see how this wide receiver catch distribution continues to play out going forward. Because while I do love seeing the Jeremiah Smith show every week, I'd also like to see a more balanced distribution and see everyone get involved there.
Yeah, I'm with you there. That is a question I have. I do still want to see Ennis a little bit more involved and played more starter snaps to kind of even out with the guys. But I mean, with the production, we can't really complain. But I would like to see some more guys get touches. Okay, the second thing I still want to learn is I still feel like we have a bit of a linebacker dilemma. Not a bad one though. All the guys pretty much that are playing good amount of snaps seem to be playing pretty well, even the backups of sorts. But I still do want to learn, are they going to use these guys in their best traits? So we've seen the return of Cody Simon. He looked really good. We've seen Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, of course, and CJ Hicks. So we know for Hicks, we talked about him. You talked about him at the beginning of the season. He's probably a pass rusher, really, at heart. That's probably his best rate. And we had talked about this before. Only really one guy that's playing significant ball for defensive end at Ohio State has a good pass rush rate, and that is Jack Sawyer with 24.1 win rate. Everybody else is pretty much in the 15%, which is not very good, especially when you talk about Western Michigan and Akron. So will they use him a little more to pass rush? He was the highest graded person in week one. Cody Simon and Arvell Reese, still, how are you splitting their reps? I feel like Cody Simon is very good when you talk about between the tackle in space. I think he leaves still a little something to be desired. And Arvell Reese, again, is winning the Heisman. So that's where I'm at with that. I just want to see how they're going to continue to use these guys going forward. And will they be a little more flexible? That is my second question going after the bye week.
Yeah, I don't. I think that CJ Hicks is going to continue to play linebacker this year. They may find ways to use him as a pass rusher, but for the most part, Ryan Day said in one of his recent press conferences that CJ Hicks, we need him to be a linebacker, and I think he is a linebacker. So it'll be interesting to see CJ Hicks' development, but I am going to stick with the linebackers. I want to see what Arvell Reese's rotation looks like going forward. They say he's making a push for minutes. I want to see how serious of a push that is as the Big Ten schedule starts. I mean, we have Marshall this week, but then we pick up against Michigan State and Iowa, and I'm interested to see, can Arvell Reese make a true push to make this a full rotation at Mike, or do we see him slide into a more backup role where it's Cody Simon's show? I think Arvell Reese has the talent to make a push to demand minutes and that be more of a rotation. And with the injuries that we've seen at Mike linebacker for Ohio State in years past, I don't think it would be a bad thing to have two guys that are capable of calling the defense and rotating regularly throughout the season. I don't think we need Cody Simon, crashing into a wall of defenders against the Marshall over and over again when we're going to win that game, whether it's, a true freshman playing or whether it's Cody Simon. So I'm going to be interested to see how they balance that rotation and try to keep these linebackers healthy.
Yeah, with you. Shout out to my guy Doug. Gabe Powers needs some respect too in there. He's played well against Marshall. I again want to see him get more stats, but I'm with you. I would love to see the split dynamic. I mean, you know where I'd roll with that on how snaps go, but I don't think there's any wrong answer here. Okay, so my third question for Ohio State after the bye week is, how's Will Howard and his deep ball? So we saw him famously short Jeremiah Smith in last week, or not last week, but before the bye week. But that's kind of the only mistake that we've really seen out of Will Howard. Outside of that, he's really balled out. I again still feel like that deep ball is going to be necessary at some time, even if it's later in the season or in the playoffs. So I got to see a couple deep ball shots. I just want some Ryan Williams plays, man. That's all I want is Ohio State too. I just need a guy streaking, any Cardinal State or Brandon Ennis streaking down, and Will Howard hit him for a couple deep balls and go ahead and silence any criticism I could possibly have for him. But that's my final one: is will he continue to throw the deep ball at a higher rate than he has been? That is my last thing I want to learn going after the Ohio State bye week. Throw it over to you.
Yeah, the other thing I want to see is if Jim Knowles is able to stay as aggressive as he has been with this defense. They talked about wanting to faster, wanting them to be more aggressive, force more turnovers. I know he dialed it back last year a bit after people saying he was too aggressive in year one, and his aggression may have played a role in the struggles that we saw against the team up north in his first year here. But I feel like he seems to really kind of have an idea of his personnel and their limitations and their strengths. So I do think that he's going to continue to dial it up, but I'm interested to see how that plays out this year. Do we see the full mad scientist that we were promised in Jim Knowles? And while I think Jim Knowles has been great, I still don't think we've seen the peak of what his defenses can be.
Yeah, he's always said he's holding some stuff back, so expect to run field goal block on 2nd and 10. All the Madden stops. He's still got more in the tank, man. So he's still got more. Run the four corners defense. Just
So
made
for
up.
for the people looking at the show title, three things we learned during the Ohio State bye week. When Q and I were writing the show this morning, I was just waking up and misread that and created the title Three Things. So we learned during the Ohio State bye week. So I want to take a minute before we get out of here. I know both of us have to get to work here shortly. Talk about a couple things that we did learn during the bye week. The Buckeyes weren't playing, but we did get a chance to see the college football landscape. And the first thing that I learned is the Buckeyes have a problem on their hands next year when they play Texas because because Arch Manning looks like him. The fact that he was able to come in and fill in for Quinn this week and look the way he did, it was an eye opener as a Buckeye fan, knowing that the Buckeyes have Texas on the schedule this year. Did you get an opportunity to see Arch Manning this past week?
I got to see his highlights. His game was going on while I was watching other games, but I remember just getting to the bar with my buddy, and he was like, "Yeah, Arch Manning just had like a 70-yard pass and a 70-yard run." I was like, "What? Who? Like, he did what?" So that was definitely impressive by him, and luckily for us, we will get to see Arch not against a good opponent, but in a full game setting this week. Texas again has looked good. Their weapons have looked good. I'm very interested to see how they look going into SEC play. But it's good to see all that hype. Arch Man, the greatest player ever. We didn't see much from him, but now he's here. So I don't know if he took Compound V. I don't know if they juiced him up in the
Dear
off.
Antler Spray, as a Ravens fan, quit pretending like you don't know what steroids they use to cheat. That's crazy. You know exactly what they use.
I don't know what he took, but it's working. So definitely I did get to see him.
The next one, I'm going to ask you if you're as bought in as I am. I said on Buckeye BS a few weeks ago that Cam Ward was the Air King 2.0, and I've seen this movie before. We're about like 15 minutes into the movie, and I think I might be watching a new movie. I'm starting to buy the Cam Ward hype through 3 weeks and having faced barely any opponents. I'm ready to say that Cam Ward is for real as he leads the Heisman race. Are you there with me?
I mean, yeah, I thought Cam Ward was going to be good, and I wanted him this offseason. That was my quarterback of choice, probably behind Dylan Gabriel, who now that doesn't look as good as it once did, but that was probably my ranking on guys I wanted to bring in. I think Cam Ward is legit. I do think he takes some risk, and maybe that will get exposed later in the season, as we've all talked about. He is a little bit of he's out there. I might just wing it. I might go do something crazy. And he was known for turning the ball over a lot at Washington State. So I do think Cam Ward is very legit. He's looked really good in his Miami offense. Again, I would like to see a little more before I crown Miami. But if you're telling me gun to my head 3 weeks in, yeah, he's legit.
In the last one, we hit on it earlier. This 2024 recruiting class is fucking legit. Not just Ohio State's, but the class as a whole and the contribution that we've seen from freshmen has been spectacular and almost disappointing at this point because I expected Jeremiah Smith to completely come in and light the world on fire. And everybody else in his class is like, hey, don't forget about me. And with him on a bye week, plenty of guys from the 2024 class reminded you, like, hey, Jeremiah Smith isn't the only true freshman playing. Most specifically, two guys that I wanted to point out, Ryan Williams, the freshman wide receiver phenom at Alabama, who they can't stop reminding you that he's only 17. And I feel like that's going to be a guy that's going to be mentioned every time you say Jeremiah Smith's name for the next 3 years as a competition between those two guys. While I think Jeremiah, as Geno Smith so eloquently put it, is going to be the best wide receiver ever, I feel like Ryan Williams is a name that you're going to hear closely associated with him. And then another name that I wanted to bring up that was on that list of true freshman standouts from week 3, Devin Brown's backup high school quarterback, Isaac Wilson. The starter at Utah right now with the Cam Rising injury at Utah, a name that's always floated around associated with Devin Brown, given that he played high school football there. It's interesting to see his backup quarterback get the opportunity to start in that Utah offense where they're really slinging it around. And it makes you wonder, you're looking at Will Howard this year. If he stays healthy, Devin Brown likely will not see the field much. And now you have a guy and a true freshman that was his backup 2 years ago in high school, throwing 3 touchdowns, almost 300 yards in his first starting debut in Utah. And just makes you wonder, does a guy like that, what Devin would be able to do with an opportunity elsewhere or here if he sticks it out and gets that opportunity. But it did make me think, hey, you see a guy that, sat behind Devin go ball out at Utah at the moment. And it just makes you wonder when he gets his shot, what he's going to be able to do.
Yeah. Well, to touch on the freshman thing, yeah, a lot of them have balled out. We've seen Ryan Williams, Colin Simmons, Jordan Seaton now comes up here, and these guys aren't just playing like good for a freshman. When you talk about, I don't really know how much you want to put into grades to say it have you, because sometimes you be like, I gotta not play well. I don't know how he graded out top on the defense, but these guys are grading tops in college football as far as all players, not just freshmen. So it is good to see from this class. A lot of guys are popping out, and I'm glad we started keeping tabs on that. Yeah, as far as Devin Brown, I don't think he will get his shot here unless foreseen injury. We'll knock on wood for that one. But I think there's a good player in there. I wasn't here to talk about it, but week 2, he looked a lot better. I mean, a lot of people were out for him in week 1. He's terrible. The worst quarterback ever to play here. He goes and has a couple dimes and scores a touchdown, and it got quiet outside after that drive. So, yeah, I think the kid can play, and I think we will get to see him next year, whether it's here or somewhere else.
One final question before we get out of here. The Buckeyes missed out on quite a few people in the 2024 class, despite having the number 3 class in the country. If you could take one player that the Buckeyes missed out on and add them to this team, who would it be from the 2024 class? Because I'm looking, and man, there's a lot of names on this list that I like, that I'm not sure which one that I would go with, but I do have a name that I feel like you're going to say first, but go ahead. Who would you take?
I need a minute because you got a name in mind. So girl, you go first.
I mean, this is the easiest question ever. We could have Dylan Stewart absolutely wrecking our scout team right now. That's who I'm going with. Not on the freshman standouts in week 3, but yeah, Dylan Stewart, the guy that I feel like the Buckeyes are like. It's the meme where they're holding the picture frame, longing for the better times. That's the one. That is the one recruit that I feel like is going to sting in the future as far as a miss for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, I would agree 100% there. Dylan Stewart looks like an actual monster. This is hard, man. I want to be a little controversial on this one. I do want to be a little controversial.
I already know I feel like I know what you're going to say with this one. Go ahead and say it.
For once, I'll be controversial. What if Dylan Raiola stayed in the class and was enrolled at Ohio State right now? What if he was? I mean, I know we've talked heavy shit about Dylan Raiola. We talked about he's going to Georgia, he can't commit to a school, he's all over the place. He's going to be 400 pounds by week 6. Like all of that, the kid comes out and makes Nebraska relevant to where they might be undefeated, rolling into Ohio State week 7. You just imagine, like, with his arm talent. You wouldn't have to question the deep ball. You know it's there. What's he looking like in this Ryan Day, Chip Kelly offense with the weapons around him. So that's the one I'll go with because quarterback's the most important position. I know we have some questions in the air of who's really going to start next year. We've talked about Will Howard if he's Ohio State level. Dylan Raiola, man, he could have fed families here.
Absolutely. I see someone saying we were never in on Dylan Stewart, but that doesn't sound correct.
Yeah,
To
yeah,
look
with
at.
Dylan Stewart, it was South Carolina, us, probably a couple other teams. He just felt like South Carolina wanted him more. Um, then Ohio
Oh
State
yeah,
did
he was
own the
definitely an Ohio State offer. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't.
he had a crystal ball, didn't he? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he
Yeah, I
did.
thought so.
And it flipped. So we very
Um,
well could have had him, and he does look like an actual dude down in South Carolina. South Carolina's killing DC. So shout out to them. But yeah, I'll be
yeah, that's
controversial.
such a weird relationship, bro. Like
Yeah,
South Carolina's ability to reach into DC and have the success that they've been able to have. Also, Dylan Stewart's top five was Ohio State, Maryland, Georgia, South Carolina, and Miami.
yeah, so there you go. Yeah, it's very odd, especially being from the area. I've never felt like a, if I ever get out of here, I'm going to South Carolina. Like, I'm sure you go down there, it'd be a great time. That's just not that's not the team I would think like,
You're not
I'm
big on Myrtle Beach, bro? Strip
going
clubs, putt and chain restaurants, bro?
like Florida.
That's
I can
not your
see that.
vibe?
Florida State, USC, like get out the area, like South Carolina, okay. So shout out to them, man. But that's all I got as far as the show notes go. You got anything before you want to get out of here?
That is it for me. We appreciate everybody tuning in to this episode of the Buckeye Roast. I promise we will get the schedule back to normal tomorrow.
We'll
Your
try.
boys have been having quite the morning. Like even today, I was running late, and then we go to start the show, and my laptop dies. And then I have to go through the
I'm ready,
system updates.
June.
Which is like down. So no, we will be back to the normal schedule. We'll be back at 8. Be sure to check out the Fans Edge tomorrow at 8 p.m. or 7:30 p.m. And yeah, we'll be on Bleacher Report tomorrow as well. So shows on shows tomorrow. So be sure to tune in. We appreciate everybody watching the Buckeye Roast. Q, let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, not hard to find, man. See boy Quentin on Twitter. Find me over there. TikTok, Instagram, Flying at Johnson, and then Minor League Films, both on YouTube and TikTok. If you like movies, where you can find me. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Appreciate y'all shouting out and tweeting out the show. We greatly appreciate it. Ron.
Yeah, if you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at 2Ts. It's 2_TES. You can find me here weekdays at 8 a.m. ish for the Buckeye Roast. And then Wednesdays on Bleacher Report, Saturdays on Bleacher Report, and also Saturdays on Menace to Sports for the best damn college football pregame show. If you haven't already, make sure you like that video. It is free. We appreciate you tuning into the Buckeye Roast. And as always, it's Go Bucks and OH.
IO.
Yeah.